Nick Smart, from the Daily Telly, said that his fingerprints were all over that comeback. And with what happened to the Tigers on the weekend and him jumping ship, has he landed on his feet?
He's landed on his feet, yeah. He's got a pretty smart coach there in Wayne Bennett, who's thrown him a lifeline before, not too many years ago at Brisbane, didn't he? What is he now, 36? So Benji is officially the oldest player in the competition now that Cameron Smith's not playing. But you saw what he was capable of. As soon as he came on, he made an instant impact. My goodness, he could well be the signing of the season, And they've got Cody Walker, they've got Adam Reynolds. Well, he could easily start. He could easily start in a 6 or a 7. He could play 9. He could play 13. I think he's a really astute. I think he will be the most important number 14 in the competition this season for sure. And whether he helps unlock that premiership for the Bunnies, time will tell. But mate, he's got all the gifts. You can't buy that sort of stuff, and you can't buy that experience. So they've done well.
And when you were playing, Chris, that reserve grade was part of the club, was part of the medal of each club, and all the old hard heads that went back to reserve grade was something that was able to help the younger players coming up through the grades, right? So the Johns boys talk about it, that the first time they played men was in reserve grade, and they played ex-first graders. No one wants to go out playing reserve grade these days, which I don't think there's nothing wrong with going out playing bloody reserve grade. And with Benji being there, he adds that experience. He adds that little bit of, let's just relax a little bit, boys, to your Reynolds and your Cody Walkers, that I think has been the missing link to the boys winning to South. They dip out each preliminary final for the last 2 years. I think this is why they're the premiership. That's why we can say they are the premiership favourites, because Benji has that hard-headedness. But tell me about your days when you were playing reserve grade. What was it like?
Oh, mate, it was great. So my days, we're going way back when now. So what did I play in the early 90s? We had all 3 grades, under 21s, reserve grade, then first grade. So I wore number 35 in the under 21s. I wore number 22 in the reserve grade. And then on a handful of occasions, was lucky enough to wear the number 9 in first grade. So they were your 3 jerseys for a hooker back in my day at Western Suburbs. And I had, Shane Flanagan was ahead of me, actually. Joey Thomas was ahead of me. And then Warren Ryan brought in Jason Alchin. So you talk about reserve grade. Mate, I think I've played more reserve grade games than anyone in the history of the NRL, to be honest with you. I was captain of reserve grade for about 3 or 4 years out there at Western Suburbs Magpies at Campbelltown. Once you're given captaincy for reserve grade, it pretty much means you're not going to be playing much first grade, basically. Didn't have a big opinion of me. I was only a battler. But that was great. So, and I had David Gillespie on Higher Ground on SEN last week. And I had blokes like Gillespie, I had Langmack, I had Bobby Lidner, I had Ivan Henjack. I had all this experience around me in terms of these older guys. And you learn so much off them. Not just about footy, either, life in general. Darren Britt, Cameron Blair. We had lots of guys around us, and you learn. Yeah, it was great. And in fact, I was talking to Cement last week, and I was more of a defensive hooker. I wasn't that fast out of dummy half, but I was pretty solid in D, and that was probably largely due to the tuition of David Gillespie. He was all the side one night out there at Campbelltown, and really showed us some proper tackle technique. Which foot to plant, where to plant it, which shoulder to hit with. And you know who I can tell every time these days, watching, even if I can't see his number or his head if I'm calling a game, in Jake Trebojevic.
Of course.
It's got Gillespie all over it. That perfecting that technique and that style, and when you get that right, a little bloke can bring a big fella down. But yeah, to answer your question, it was great having all those old heads around, for sure.
And that's what I think we've lost, Chris, is the mentorship. That's what I think we've lost, the mentorship, because.
But you're right, Benji will have that influence. Definitely will have that influence, and that could be the magic key for the Bunnies this year.